I serve as a compliance officer, a position that often elicits little excitement in social gatherings. When people ask about my job, I usually receive a polite nod before the topic is swiftly changed. My daily tasks involve scrutinizing financial documents, tracking suspicious activities, and detecting inconsistencies that don't align with expectations. The work is meticulous, unsensational, and demands a level of patience many people find hard to maintain. Before we proceed, if you haven't already subscribed, do it immediately. Like and share so others can discover this narrative. I assure you, you won't want to miss the conclusion. 7 years ago, my wife Saria found my job endearing. She would tell her friends that I was one of the reliable ones, given my steady career and cautious approach towards risks. That was when we were newlyweds, working together in our comfortable suburban life. We weren't extravagant, yet we didn't face financial hardship either, thanks to our combined income from my compliance job and Saria's marketing role at a mid-sized pharmaceutical firm. Approximately 3 years into our union, a change emerged. Saria became engrossed in professional networking events and followed motivational speakers as well as business influencers on social media. She returned home brimming with enthusiasm, discussing innovation and rapid expansion, and aiming for greater accomplishments. Initially, I thought it was beneficial. After all, isn't ambition essential? However, the ambition morphed into something else. She started voicing criticisms about our lifestyle, stating that we were settling, that I was content with mediocrity. She'd scroll through Instagram, displaying pictures of people we attended college with, individuals who had founded companies or moved to pricey cities or posted images from business-class flights. "Isn't there more you aspire to, Scene?" she'd inquire, gesturing vaguely at our living room. "I believe we have a satisfying life," I would reply. She'd sigh as if I had revealed a lack of aspirations altogether. Around 18 months ago, she started spending increased time away from home, late networking events, weekend seminars. She enrolled in a bi-monthly executive mastermind group. I didn't voice my displeasure, since it brought her joy I could endure solitary evenings. Then she encountered Lachlan. She frequently discussed him. Lachlan was a pioneer in the fintech sector. He had secured Series B funding for his venture. At conferences, he spoke about decentralized finance and blockchain integration. Lachlan owned a Tesla, donned Rolex timepieces, and was highlighted in a local business publication. "You'd find him appealing," Saria stated one evening at dinner. "He's intelligent. He contemplates the future instead of merely adhering to regulations." I kept quiet but took note. As part of my responsibilities, I maintain a cautious view towards individuals who boast about their achievements more than they embody them. A few weeks later, Saria mentioned that Lachlan was seeking a new chief operating officer for his company. She had been in contact with him regarding the position. Her enthusiasm, not seen in years, shone vividly through her bright eyes. She spoke swiftly and spent late nights studying cryptocurrency protocols and regulatory structures. She suggested that this could revolutionize our situation. "That's terrific," I responded. "What's the firm?" "Viridian Capital Solutions. They focus on high-yield, decentralized lending platforms." I gave a nod. Then I ventured to my office and opened my work database. After around 15 minutes of searching, I found the initial fraud investigation file. Viridian Capital Solutions was flagged by our collaborating agencies for unusual transactions and dubious investor complaints. There's no definitive proof yet, but it raised enough suspicion to warrant a thorough examination. The company offered returns that didn't fit any legitimate business model. They employed Ponzi scheme structures in a sophisticated financial language to make it appear innovative. Early investors paid with funds from new investors. The CEO, Lachlan Reeves, had a questionable past. 2 prior companies had shut down following investigations. Both times, he managed to evade criminal charges by asserting ignorance and blaming his associates. He was indeed cunning, keeping himself distant enough from the fraud to uphold a facade of innocence. That evening, I spent hours in my office contemplating the file before closing it without sharing my thoughts with Saria. You may view this as complicity, but there's something crucial about fraud investigations. They progress gradually. Prematurely informing someone could jeopardize the entire case. If Saria distanced herself from Lachlan, it might signal that she was under observation, and my job demanded discretion. I couldn't disclose ongoing inquiries to anyone, not even my spouse. Furthermore, at that moment, I thought she was merely exploring a job prospect. I assumed she would interview, determine the position wasn't suitable, and move on. However, I erred in my assumptions. Over the past few months, Saria grew distant. She stopped inquiring about my daily activities, instead arriving home late, immediately showering and retiring to bed without lengthy conversation. When I attempted to engage her, her responses were brief, and she swiftly returned to her phone. I'm not gullible. I recognized the signals. Yet I refrained from confronting her as a part of me harbored hope that I was misinterpreting the situation. Perhaps she was simply under pressure due to a job opportunity. Maybe this phase would subside. However, approximately 4 months ago, upon returning home, I found Soria in our bedroom, gazing at herself in the mirror, adorned in a new, unfamiliar dress that appeared costly and tailored. She was rehearsing expressions, alternating between smiling and adopting a more somber expression, tilting her head and adjusting her posture. I inquired if it was for a significant meeting from the doorway. She startled slightly before composing herself. Subsequently, she turned to face me, revealing an icy, resolute expression, unlike any she had been practicing. Actually, Sion, it's nice you're back home. We have some things to discuss. Her opening words seldom promising a positive outcome. In the living room, she settled in an armchair opposite the couch, opting not to sit beside me. Her hands were neatly folded in her lap, and her posture exuded precision, suggesting careful preparation. I've been doing a lot of introspection lately, she started. I've come to understand that I've been repressing crucial aspects of myself to sustain this relationship. I remained silent as I waited. You're a decent individual, Sion. You're steady and dependable, yet you're also stagnant. You're content with an average life. On the other hand, I aspire for more. I deserve more. In a soft tone, I responded, All right, what does that imply? Her words continued. What it means is I need room to develop into the person I'm destined to become. Our shared existence, it feels oppressive. With each passing day here, I feel like I'm betraying my potential. She paused, awaiting my response. When none came, she added more. I've been discussing this with my therapist. She clarified that maintaining a relationship due to duty or convenience isn't beneficial for either of us as it lacks fairness. She emphasized the necessity of self-respect to prioritize oneself. It seemed as though she had uncovered a profound insight. Are you involved with someone else? I inquired. She appeared taken aback. My situation isn't about another person, Sion. It revolves around my personal development, my future, and my right to live honestly. I questioned her response as being evasive. The fact that she was attempting to attribute my concerns to jealousy instead of acknowledging my viewpoint underscores my argument. She doesn't value my progress. She desires me to remain stagnant to accommodate herself. I gazed at her for a lengthy moment. Her jaw was firm, her eyes were cold. Our discussion wasn't a dialogue, it was a theatrical performance. She had already reached her decision, and this speech was merely the script she crafted to feel good about it. If you're considering divorce, let's consult lawyers, I suggested. I don't want a divorce at the moment, she countered promptly. What I desire is separation, both physically and financially. I need room to navigate my future independently without being bound to someone who doesn't align with my aspirations. Financial separation? Absolutely. I'm on the verge of a new career phase, Sion, a highly profitable one. I must secure my assets as I embark on this journey. This was the crux of our discussion. Lachlan has offered me the COO position, she disclosed further. I stand to make substantial income, and I need to safeguard myself from any future claims because we were married during that period of earning. I won't do that, I assured her. People often say they won't, but they may change their minds once they see the figures. I'm on track for success, Sion, and I won't shy away from protecting myself. She retrieved a file from beside her chair, thick with documents. She placed the documents on the coffee table before us. My lawyer prepared a post-marital contract outlining full financial autonomy. Whatever is yours remains yours, whatever is mine remains mine. There are no future claims on each other's assets or income. I will be moving out this weekend, and I need you to sign these documents before my departure. As I picked up the folder, I began reading. The tone was assertive. It appeared a legal professional had drafted it to safeguard her from any possible future claims I might make on her earnings. The words used were sharp, including phrases like total indemnification, an unalterable relinquishment of spousal support, and sole ownership of all forthcoming ventures. A section in the agreement specifically addressed her new position at Viridian Capital Solutions, designating her as the incoming COO and classifying any equity, wages, or bonuses from that role as exclusively hers, beyond my reach. A different party officially transferred the title of our home to her, under the condition that I would leave within a month. In return, she agreed to restructure the mortgage in her sole name and absolve me of any related liabilities. Essentially, it was a legal move meant to sever all ties with me while shielding her from any financial obligations towards me. This is quite comprehensive, I remarked. I prefer clarity and avoiding any confusion. Naturally. Are you involved with Lachlan? Her complexion reddened. I already explained that this isn't about. Saraya, are you romantically engaged with him? She evaded my gaze. My relationship with Lachlan is intricate. I have found a connection with him that I haven't experienced with anyone else. He recognizes my abilities and supports me. And yes, we have grown close. However, that's not the reason for this decision. You oversimplify something complex. She regarded me with an expression that was both defiant and apprehensive, unaware of my months-long surveillance of Viridian Capital Solutions. The FBI had launched an investigation 6 weeks prior, enlisting me as a consulting analyst due to my financial compliance expertise. I'd traced the funds, identified defrauded investors, and uncovered corporate documents proving Lachlan structured the company to evade liability while implicating his officers in fraudulent activities. The job Saraya was considering wasn't a career move. It was a legal trap set by Lachlan, intended to pin the blame on her when the scheme crumbled. Previously, he had shifted accountability for daily operations and fraudulent activities to new executives in his other ventures, feigning innocence when authorities intervened. Saraya, seeking her supposed break, was on the verge of signing documents that would legally bind her to millions of dollars worth of fraud. I could have alerted her. I could have saved her from this predicament. But she had belittled my concerns due to my alleged small-mindedness over her affair. She dismissed our life as mediocre. It was evident that her opinions didn't value my wisdom, perspective, or caution. Moreover, issuing a warning would jeopardize an ongoing federal investigation. Such action could facilitate Lachlan in tampering with evidence or evading arrest. Therefore, to uphold my legal and professional duties, I chose silence. Consequently, I took the pen she had placed beside the folder. "Are you positive about total financial detachment?" I inquired. "No links between our possessions whatsoever. Indeed, I don't want you having any control over my income. And you're fully committed to the position with Lachlan." Her gaze hardened. "Don't even suggest undermining this chance due to envy. Lachlan is brilliant and his company will transform fintech. Instead of being trapped in suburban monotony, I'll be part of something significant." "I'm not intending to sabotage anything, merely ensuring you've considered your decision thoroughly," I emphasized. "This has been all I've contemplated for months. This is my desire, financial freedom from you, the pursuit of meaningful endeavors, and a partner with ambition." "Koki," I whispered. I signed every document. She observed me, her face revealing a blend of contentment and possibly a hint of uncertainty or perhaps simply astonishment that I wasn't putting up more resistance. Upon completion, I returned the folder to her. "I'll be vacating the house by the end of the month," I mentioned. "Thank you for making this straightforward," she responded, yet her tone hinted at anticipated obstacles. Perhaps she desired a plea from me, a display that would empower her. I rose. "I wish you luck in your search, Saria." I took only essentials, some clothes, my laptop, and a few personal items. I could retrieve the rest later. When I descended again, she remained in the living room, the signed papers still on her lap. She lifted her gaze to me. "Is that all? You're just leaving? You expressed the need for space. I believed you would at least attempt to preserve us. You declared our marriage as mediocre and admitted your affection for another. Precisely what are we meant to defend? We've discussed this. He is aware that this marriage has been defunct for quite some time. Does he know you're still legally wed while cohabiting with him?" "I no longer have any involvement in your matters, Cyan. You're correct. It's not my concern anymore." I stepped out. "Good luck with your empire, Saria." I departed without slamming the door or raising my voice. For 7 years, that was our home, but now I found myself behind the wheel of my car, driving towards a hotel near my office and checking in for the week. The impersonal room, filled with generic furniture, echoed with an odd emptiness, one that mirrored the void where my marriage used to reside. At 6:30 the next morning, my work supervisor called. "Have you seen the news?" he asked. "No, I just woke up. What's happening?" "The FBI raided Viridian Capital Solutions an hour ago. They arrested Lachlan Reeves and several of his executives. It's all over the business channels." I switched on the television in my room, and as expected, scenes of federal agents exiting a downtown high-rise with boxes of evidence filled the screen. The report labeled it as a significant fraud case linked to a cryptocurrency investment scheme, swindling investors of more than $40 million. They mentioned the chief operating officer was detained at the CEO's penthouse, my superior added. "Apparently, a newly hired employee is alleged to have facilitated the false transactions." My gut nodded. "Do they know her name?" "Yes, let me check. Soria Winters. Wait, isn't that your ex-wife's maiden name?" "It was," I murmured. "We separated yesterday." There was a moment of silence. Kyan, did you not know about this? I can't reveal details on ongoing investigations, but I knew there was an inquiry. I wasn't aware of the timeline for arrests and couldn't have shared it with anyone, including her. Another pause. Did she sign employment papers with them? Yesterday, along with postnuptial agreements establishing financial independence between us. To secure your assets, apparently, while hers remain vulnerable, a timing situation that seems either disastrous or advantageous. Silence was my response. You'll need to make a statement to the investigation team clarifying you had no part in leaking any information. Standard procedure, I comprehended. And Kyan, I apologize. I know this hits close to home for you. Thank you. I ended the call, finding myself perched on the hotel bed, gazing at the TV. A photo of Soria was being broadcast, showing her being escorted out of a luxury building in handcuffs. She appeared bewildered, her carefully coiffed hair disheveled, her expensive attire wrinkled. The caption labeled her as a pivotal figure in the fraud case. My phone rang again, displaying an unfamiliar number. I answered. Kyan, oh my God, you must assist me. Soria's voice was frantic. Where are you calling from? They've arrested me. I'm at the FBI field office. They're accusing me of fraud, but it's preposterous. I didn't do anything wrong. I've only just started this job and have no knowledge of Lachlan's activities, Soria stated. I don't know where they intend to press charges against me. They're questioning me now. They claim they found documents bearing my signature, authorizing fraudulent wire transfers, but I never consented to anything. I merely signed the employment paperwork. Lachlan must have included other things in the contracts without my knowledge. This is a misunderstanding. You need to inform them that this is a misunderstanding. As I approached the window of my hotel room, the city stirred to life. Ordinary people heading to their routine jobs, oblivious to the fact that someone's life was falling apart just a few miles away. What did Lachlan say when they arrested you? I inquired. He blamed everything on me. He told the officers I managed the daily operations. He asserted he had no clue about the fraudulent transactions I was processing. He betrayed me, Cyan. He totally betrayed me. That's his habit, I whispered. What are you referring to? He follows the same scheme. He appoints new executives, gets them to sign papers shifting operational responsibility, then denies knowledge when fraud is uncovered. This has happened at least twice before. A pause on the line followed. Then softly, were you aware of this? I was cognizant that Viridian was under federal scrutiny. I couldn't disclose it to you. This is an ongoing federal case. Why did you lead me into this situation? You inquired several times if I was confident about the job. You labeled me as envious and narrow-minded. You could have prevented this. I couldn't have stopped you, she replied. My duty was to the investigation, and it seemed your viewpoint no longer mattered to you. I can hear you breathing on the other end of the line, rapidly in shallow breaths as if you were becoming anxious. I require your assistance, she pleaded. I need bail money, a lawyer, someone to vouch for me. As my spouse, you must aid me. It seems uncertain if I'm still your husband, as you filed separation papers yesterday. Legally, we are separated, but in essence, we remain married. Abandoning me isn't an option. The documents you had me sign establish financial independence, meaning our assets are separate. However, this doesn't exempt me from your debts or legal troubles during emergencies. This situation appears to be a test, or perhaps it's exactly what you desired, complete independence from me. You claimed you needed self-respect and freedom, stating our marriage was hindering you. You told me I was stagnant and mediocre, and you wanted to distance yourself from my life. I was misled. Lachlan played on my emotions. You need to comprehend why a part of me, a resilient part, still wishes to aid you. No longer due to affection, but from the shared 7 years past. Because of a vow to remain together in hardship and health. Since beneath the harshness and deceit, there remained a recollection of the spouse once wedded. But another facet recalled her expression as she handed me the documents. The chill in her gaze when discussing asset protection from me. The scorn in her tone when labeling our life average. I can't aid you, Saria, I softly stated. What do you mean you can't? I replied I meant precisely that. I can't help you. You saw to it yesterday by cutting all financial and legal connections between us. Now you're self-inflicting this hardship on me as retribution. No, I'm doing this because you instructed me. You craved independence. Now you have it. I retain enough dignity not to associate with crooks, I asserted. Remaining silent, you repeated my words back at me during the arrest. Her words held significance. Words of self-respect, Saria, a lesson you instilled in me. This isn't amusing, I'm not jesting. In the background, I could hear voices urging her to disconnect, stating that her time was up. Cyan, please, I implore you, I urged, grievously so. But I'm terrified. I don't know what awaits me. I require assistance. I need someone who comprehends me, someone aware that I'm not a felon. The person who knew you is absent, I said. Yesterday, you ensured that. You declared that person was stationary and ordinary, hindering your progress, so I let them go. And now, here you are, precisely where you desired to be, entirely independent, unencumbered by anyone hindering your potential. This isn't the life I yearned for. Then perhaps you should have pondered more deeply about what you were seeking. The background voices grew louder, insisting she disconnect immediately. I must depart, she said, her voice cracking. Ponder on this, Cyan. Reflect upon your actions. I've already pondered, I replied. Good fortune, Saria. I sincerely wish you find a trustworthy attorney. I placed the phone on the desk and settled in the hotel chair, fixating on emptiness. I had spent 7 years with someone I believed to be known, someone with whom I had built a life. In the end, she cast it all aside. Cast me aside because a swindler in an expensive suit had persuaded her that she deserved more. The most painful aspect wasn't the betrayal. It was understanding that the person I wedded had been vanishing for years, replaced by someone unfamiliar, someone who valued status over authenticity, ambition over ethics, and their reflection over genuine connection. My phone vibrated. A message from my superior. The investigation team wishes to meet with you at 2 this afternoon. They don't view you as a suspect. They merely require your statement for documentation purposes. I responded with a simple, I will attend. After that, I booted up my computer and began jotting down everything relevant to the investigation timeline, my role, and the contracts Saria had signed. This wasn't an attempt to harm her, but rather a commitment to uncovering the truth. Victims of fraud deserve justice, after all. The law isn't meant to be twisted because someone you once cared for made disastrous choices. Over the ensuing weeks, more facts surfaced. He had deliberately chosen Saria due to her spotless financial records and absence of criminal record. He manipulated her, offered her power and wealth, only to eventually frame her as a fall guy. The contract she had signed shifted the legal responsibility for company decisions onto her shoulders. Over the initial 2 days, she believed she was performing ordinary administrative duties, when in reality, these transactions were the concluding illegal transfers that concluded the scam designed by Lachlan. By strategically bringing her on board right before the fraud came to light, he ensured she'd bear the responsibility when everything crumbled. She faced charges for wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. The prosecution maintained that, as COO, she should have been aware of the illicit nature of the business. Her defense argued she was a victim of manipulation, but her signed documents contradicted this argument. Possessing authority within the company meant taking on legal accountability. Since we had signed a post-nuptial agreement, all financial liability from the fraud did not affect me. My assets, accounts, and credit remained unaffected because our finances were legally separated the day before she joined Veridian. Instead of Soria, her assets were confiscated. The house we previously cohabited, which she sole-owned in our separation agreement, was incorporated into the asset forfeiture procedure. The government seized it as profits from illicit activities. Her bank accounts were secured. The equity Lachlan had guaranteed turned out to be worthless. It was just paper shares in a company based on fraud. She attempted to contact me several times during the initial weeks, through her lawyer's calls and emails pleading for reconsideration, assistance with bail. I remained unresponsive, not from malice but because there was truly nothing I could offer. I wasn't her husband in a substantial sense any longer. She ensured that. The trial lasted 8 months. I wasn't summoned to testify. My role had been limited to consulting analyst on the investigation, and my personal connection to Soria was deemed unimportant regarding the facts of the case. She was found guilty on all charges. In less than 6 hours, the jury reached a verdict. Lachlan struck a bargain, testifying against her to secure a lighter penalty. He portrayed her as an eager accomplice who was fully aware of her actions. Whether he truly believed this or merely protecting himself didn't matter. The jury sided with him. She was handed a 15-year sentence in federal prison. I wasn't present during the sentencing. Instead, I learned about it from news reports. I tried to feel satisfaction, perhaps vindication, or at least closure, but instead I felt weary. Weary of contemplating it. Weary of replaying our discussions in my mind. Weary of questioning if there was something else I could have done. A few months following the sentencing, a letter arrived. It was from Soria, forwarded via her lawyer. I almost discarded it unopened, but curiosity prevailed. The letter was concise. Cyan, I won't beg for your pardon. I know what I did. I know what I wrecked. I want you to realize that I grasp the situation now. It's not about understanding Lachlan's fraudulent actions. I still believe I didn't fully grasp his intentions. What I do comprehend is the harm I caused to you and us. Our life was never mediocre. It was just that I convinced myself it wasn't enough because I desired something more, yet I didn't understand what more truly meant. All I knew was I felt unhappy, so instead of introspection, I pointed fingers at you for my misery. Lachlan didn't lure me with monetary promises. He enticed me by making me feel valued, appreciated, and recognized for my true potential. Desperate to believe in this illusion, I willingly discarded reality to pursue a delusion. You tried to rescue me, and now I see it. Each time you asked if I was certain, each time you questioned my choices, you were trying to shield me. And I labeled you as jealous, small, stagnant. In truth, you were the constant one, the wise one, the one who truly grasped that a good life isn't constructed on status or ambition, but on trust, partnership, and being there for each other even during the mundane. I discarded all of that. I discarded you. Now I find myself here, reflecting on 15 years, regretting what I have lost, and it's far more painful than losing my liberty. I lost a person who genuinely loved me, someone who would have stood by me through anything if only I hadn't pushed him away. I don't anticipate your response. I don't expect anything from you. I merely wanted you to understand my remorse for everything, for the cruelty, for the betrayal, for wasting the treasure of your affection because I was too naive to perceive it. May you find someone worthy of you. May you build something magnificent. May you erase me and this ordeal from your memory, living a life that I failed to appreciate when it was mine. S. I perused the letter thrice, then delicately tucked it away in a drawer housing crucial papers, not to conserve it but as a closure symbol for something that required an end. Am I able to forgive her? The term forgiveness is unclear. I comprehended what transpired. I recognized that she was swayed by someone adept at manipulation. I understood that people commit devastating errors when they pursue fantasies of whom they believe they should be, rather than acknowledging who they truly are. Yet understanding isn't akin to pardoning. She had options, numerous options. She opted for an affair. She opted to trust Lachlan over me. She elected wealth and social standing above honesty and partnership, and her selections bore consequences. I disposed of my possessions, departed the city, and embarked on a fresh start somewhere else. A new job, a new apartment, a different daily grind. I needed distance from everything. 2 years have passed since the investigation, trial, and reminiscences. Occasionally, I venture into dating, but I tread more warily than before. Now I listen attentively when people share their values, observe how they treat service staff and strangers, detect inconsistencies between their words and actions. I'm not resentful. I've merely grown cautious about who I grant access to my inner self. People occasionally inquire about my ex-spouse, having read news articles or heard gossip. They wonder what it was like being wedded to a person who served time for deceit. Generally, I respond that it was intricate and switch the topic. The true narrative isn't one of fraud, revenge, or even justice. It's about a woman who persuaded herself that her life wasn't satisfying enough, and in pursuit of something she thought would be superior, forfeited everything truly valuable. I occasionally ponder her fate. In a cell, merely contemplating the sequence of events that landed her there. I ponder if she discovered tranquility, if she comprehended whatever lesson this ordeal intended to impart. Mainly, I ruminate on the instant she presented the separation documents, the resoluteness in her gaze, the belief she was advancing toward something more significant. She was so certain she was embracing freedom. She failed to grasp she was signing up for a prison term. The most subtle aspect of retribution, a detail often unmentioned, is that sometimes the wisest action is inaction. Just sign the papers, allow others their choices, and observe as fate metes out consequences beyond your ability to manipulate. Saria didn't ruin her own life. She did it herself. I simply chose not to sync with her, and what lingers most hauntingly is that decision. The ease with which she could depart rather than the events themselves, as love often transforms into apathy when one reveals their true nature. She sought self-worth, autonomy, liberation from whom she perceived as an impediment. I granted her all of it. In retrospect, that was the most destructive gift I bestowed. Thus, what does Cheyenne's tale teach us? Financial advisors assert that postnatal agreements are legally binding across all 50 states. However, the crucial factor often overlooked is timing. When Saria signed those documents on the day she accepted her position, she unwittingly established what attorneys term asset isolation, safeguarding Cheyenne while transferring all liability onto herself. The FBI reveals that schemes like Lachlan's typically last 18 to 24 months before failing and deliberately recruit unblemished executives during their final stages to shoulder legal responsibility. In 2023, more than 60 high-ranking executives were charged with fraud they allegedly weren't aware of. However, it is well established in law that assuming a C-level position involves accepting responsibility for due diligence. At times, the most effective retribution can be allowing individuals to experience the natural outcomes of their own decisions.